on online ordering. We named it pros and cons. You'll find a lot more pros than cons, and we'll definitely follow all those through this presentation. Along with us today, as always, is Mark Clark. He is our regional expert on all things optical. Like we've discussed before, he's been in the lab setting, been in the ECP setting, many other settings, so he's perfect for our discussions as we talk to ECPs and us as the lab trying to help you out with getting your orders to us easier and processing those orders a lot easier. Also along with us today is Nolan Ryan, who's with VisionWeb, and he's going to be our expert today on all things VisionWeb and is going to be presenting online ordering, our topic today. So we'll turn it over to Mark and Nolan, and then we will chime in as subjects come up. So go ahead, Nolan, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, well, hey, thanks for inviting me, guys. As I mentioned, my name's Nolan Ryan. I'm the regional account director at VisionWeb here. Prior to coming to VisionWeb, I worked as an optician for about 14 years or so, and even used VisionWeb's ordering platform myself to submit orders to labs and contact lens distributors and all that. But if you aren't familiar with VisionWeb's online ordering platform, I just wanted to give you kind of a few quick facts about us. So we have about over 20,000 practices that use our platform to submit their orders, and then to their labs like POG and others, and had about 29 million orders placed last year. We are the largest network of ophthalmic suppliers all in one location, and we're connected to over 475 optical labs and suppliers as well.
Awesome.
So we just were voted for the 12th year in a row as the iVote's best online ordering. So thank you to everybody for that. So that's also another thing that we pride ourselves in as well.
So I'm going to jump in on just, on this particular slide. And, one of the things that I had asked as we were getting ready for this, and I asked Alex, how many people out there are still wrapping paper around an order, shoving it in a mailbox and sending it to you, or getting on the phone for 30 to 40 minutes to call in orders. Answer, is that still happening? Are people still doing that, Alex?
It happens every day. And, we, as online ordering became a bigger, thing throughout the last few years, and as call volume decreased, we kind of expected, those mail-in orders and call-in orders to just fade away. It's been years since online ordering has been common knowledge, and we still get them daily. I would say between call-in and mail orders, we're probably still receiving 150 to 200 of them a day. And we'll get into this more excessively as our discussion continues. But obviously, mail-in orders, call-in orders are a lot more difficult to manage on a lab's perspective than placing orders online. Placing orders online very easily. When you hit submit, they go directly to the lab. They print out in the lab. Anything else has to be handled by a human, by an individual, slows things down, creates issues in terms of mistakes, order mistakes, and just physically taking the stuff out of the packaging, putting it into something that's easy for the lab to understand takes a lot of time, which, some people phoning in or sending in their orders through the mail probably aren't taking into that consideration. At the lab, we try to do everything as quick as we possibly can. Everything's about efficiency, and there is no way around mail-in orders for efficiency. It is just not efficient, and it never will be. But
So
well, yep.
I was just going to ask you, how do you have a pulse on how long a phoned in order takes to phone in by the time you get sphere, axis, cylinder, both eyes, add power, material? Is that a 5 minute call per order?
Yeah, and it definitely depends on how many you have. Our call-in customers typically will call once a day with their orders, so it's all their orders that they get in one day. And now you're probably already seeing the problem.
Yeah.
You online orders place their orders as they go. Call-in orders will call once a day with maybe 10 or 15 orders. We have, and we watch this, on a daily basis because, of course, it's as we've discussed as an ongoing problem. We get calls that last for 30 minutes at the most for ordering, and then at the very least, at least 8 minutes per
Yeah.
call for orders. So it is time consuming, no doubt.
Yeah, Nolan, if you want to go ahead and chime in on uh, the following myths about ordering online, we'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, well, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I was also an optician for 14 years, and I think, as opticians, we tend to do things how we've been taught or trained to do, and so it can be easy to fall into some kind of pattern that and routines that kind of put you on autopilot sometimes, and that could be calling in an order, and that may feel like it may be easier to do, or that you may have less errors because you're talking to somebody. But these are really things that actually will take you more time and cause you more money and have more problems. As Alex was just saying, it takes quite a while if you're calling everything in, but that doesn't even account for, eliminating that human error that can take place between those phone calls. So, some of the common misconceptions we have here, I mentioned a couple, but, that it takes longer, that it's too difficult to set up. It's just easier and you'll have less errors, but that's just it's not true. There's ways to do things, and it's a lot easier than you think.
Well, and I mean, a little throwback to one of our previous episodes, we had some of the guys from Quantum on, and they actually have lenses on Mars today and some pretty amazing stuff. I don't think they were responsible for the Hubble telescope debacle, but that was a decimal that was a decimal point that was just in the wrong place that created a totally wrong focal length and a completely useless investment. So it can be pretty serious sometimes to just, a little error on the phone or whatever it is, misunderstanding, mishearing. It's pretty easy to do sometimes.
Yeah, and one of our, the big things about these discussions and trainings that we have is, I mean, we're kind of bringing to light the misconceptions between the ECP and the lab, and that's why I like this slide so much. I mean, and kind of ironically, Nolan and I together just set up a VisionWeb customer that had never ordered online. I think it was yesterday, and they got the instructions. It took them 5 minutes, and they were ordering that same day. They switched from calling in their orders to placing their orders online literally within a 10-minute period. So it's super easy to learn, and it's super easy to train. Your people, your staff, and Mark. I mean, you can add to that if you've done it yourself, but it is definitely not difficult to set up. And there are for sure less errors. I always like to use, with my customers, and Mark and Nolan are probably going to say, "Oh gosh," because I think I've said it 2 or 3 times already. But it's like playing a game of telephone, like what you played on, out at recess or on the playground. Your optician tells the order taker one thing. The order taker tells the customer service rep at the lab one thing. The customer service rep tells the lab technician at the lab one thing, and by the time it finally makes it to lens pick or the generators, it's something maybe completely different.
Yeah.
So, and I share with the guys yesterday, the percentage of errors, whether it's on ECP side, lab side contributed to mail-in orders or call-in orders is about 12%. Some labs are higher. Like we said yesterday, Nolan had heard of some that were 20, 25%. And now the online orders are closer to like 2%. So there are straightforward facts, in black and white, why this is so important, that everybody gets to online ordering at some point.
Yeah, and if you're watching this, either now or later in a taping, and you're an optician, and you're bearing some of that responsibility. And one of the awesome things about, if you get to the place where your EHR and everything is fully integrated, and I've worked in offices that were fully integrated, what I loved about those offices was the doctor's digital four-opter dumped it into the EHR. The EHR dumped it into VisionWeb. VisionWeb put it right into Alex's equipment, and nobody could blame me. So that was a great plus in that. It wasn't any longer up to me reading the doctor's handwriting, then me making my own handwriting, shipping it to the lab, them trying to interpret what we wrote, and was that the line off of the 5 that went too far, or is that a minus on the next number? Or and just a funny story is, when I first started working, I was the youngest guy in an office, and a bunch of older ladies at the time that could have all been my mom, and they were constantly harping me about my handwriting. So I literally trained myself to write 9s differently because nobody could tell what my 9s were. But those are the kind of little nuances and things that happen, and this just cuts all of that out, and it really takes a lot of responsibility off of your shoulders as an optician.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and add, and I'll talk about this a little bit when we talk through it. VisionWeb has validation settings in it. So depending on, if you're ordering from POG, it's going to have their catalog in it already, and you're not going to be able to order something that they don't have. So it validates that order is going to go through. So like we were talking about, it reduces those errors. And you can see here, I mean, the average ECP wastes 34 hours a year ordering via phone and fax. You even can even get your jobs back quicker. So on average, from what we've seen, is 1 to 2 days faster. But I think, it could be more than that. It could be 3-4 days quicker than that. And 93% of ECPs say that online ordering has made their practice more efficient. So, I think that's when we're looking back at those common misconceptions, and when we actually go to see it, you can see that, hey, it is way more efficient. It's going to make my life so much easier as an optician doing online ordering, and it's going to help our patients, and it's going to help our labs. It's overall good for everybody.
Yeah. There really are no downsides to ordering online, unless you're still using dial-up, I guess. In that case, you're probably not watching our webinar today.
Yeah, and it's free to use from a VisionWeb site. So all you have to do is go to visionweb.com to start. You can get registered. You put in your business information here. You can see on that form, as well as your contact information, and then you submit that. And that from there, it's going to go on over to us. We'll validate that, and you'll end up getting another email to set up your suppliers.
So you're telling us that it's free for offices to use this?
Yes, absolutely. So like there's a very little downside to doing it.
So it's convenient, it's more accurate, it's free. Alex, why are you getting some massive spiff on this? Why are you pushing this, Alex?
Yeah, and yeah, kind of what I hinted to. I mean, this is VisionWeb is not paying us anything, if that's what you're getting at. But it is it literally, and online ordering has helped a ton. In terms of call volume, and time spent on data entry and things like that on a lab's perspective. Like I said, we are all about efficiency. We want to get your order as quick as possible and get it out the door as quick as possible. And not placing our order online just adds more steps for us.
For everybody.
More steps means more issues.
Yeah.
And that is for sure. But yeah, I mean, it is the less the better, the easier, more straightforward the better. And like I've said already, there's nothing straightforward about someone mailing in an order.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So it's simple and easy. You go to visionweb.com as Nolan suggested there, very simple to do. You follow the instructions, anybody can do it. And then I'll let you continue.
Yeah, so as I was saying, we'll just send you an email to get your supplier set up. But if you don't have the time to do it, you can also just log into your account, go to supplier accounts, add your suppliers in. So we have our category, the supplier, the location. Then you put in your lab information. Once you submit that, that's going to go on over to Alex or POG or whomever your lab or supplier is. They'll validate that it's an actual account. And once that's validated, we can start getting ordering. So there's a couple ways we can do this. You can go to visionweb.com and it's, again, super easy. You just select the spectacle lens ordering after you've logged in there. And then we're going to go in, we'll add your patient's RX information, their PDs, any seg heights, anything you need here. And then you'll select which lab you want to use. So in this case, we'll select Precision Optical Group. From that drop down, we'll select the account number we have. And from here, again, this is kind of the great thing we're talking about validation is it's going to load in POG's catalog. So based off of the prescription, it's not going to allow you to order something that can't be made. And if you try to, you'll get an error message. So the great thing is here, you'll select your job and lens type and your lens designs and all of those combinations if you want to do any ARs, anything like that. And then after we those, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in real quick about that validation point. So we talked about real quick how long that you spend on the phone with an order, but that's not all that happens at customer service, is it? There's callbacks, right? So I can't order an occupational 30D35 lens in a high index wrap frame with a mirror in a -10. You know, it's gonna kick some of that out. You're not gonna be able to do some crazy combination and get a callback, which that takes more time as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And then from here, we just put in our frame information. So we do connect to Frames Data. So you can connect your Frames Data subscription as well. Gives you a little more features, but you just put in your frame information and you can free type the sizes and all of that if you want to take your own DBL and all of that. And of course, you can select a shape. You can even input a trace files. And Mark, I don't know if you kind of want to talk a little bit about the importance of selecting having an appropriate shape and even having the trace files in there.
Yeah, so we, you know, in some of our previous weeks and our previous videos, we talked about, you know, how important it is to get that data to start the lens. So a couple of things. One, if you're just mailing in an order wrapped around a frame, they can't start anything until they get that. And if you're calling in an order, they can start, but to get your best result as far as thickness, especially on plus lenses, that's where it's really, really important. If they have some reference shape or a tracing or something whereby they can get closer to that ED and that effective diameter that they need, it is really going to help the final product. So really everything about this benefits you and your customer. I was joking with Alex earlier because I know that, you know, it doesn't give him anything other than save time, better product shipped out the door. So it is really in every way benefits you and your customer, more accurate. You know, in a recent Vision Council study, they determined that most people went online for convenience. But of the people who went to their doctor still for their glasses, they went there for convenience as well. And when you look at that, it's kind of funny, but when you step back and think about it, it's like, okay, there's a group of people whose offices they go to aren't convenient, and there's a group of people who their offices that they go to are convenient. And convenience has a lot of aspects to it. One is quality glasses that work the first time, they come in quick, it's simple. And all of this really helps guarantee that. And I feel it is so important to really take a look at electronic order submission if you haven't in the past, especially if you're already using some kind of EHR that plugs right into one of these. It just dumps the numbers over. We haven't really talked in depth about that, but it's just going to transfer those numbers right over. So that it takes out all this double entry and all this extra work. So I know when you first hear about a new service, you think, oh, it's extra work. Oh, it's more entry. Oh, it's more. No, all we're talking about today is less for everybody. Less work, less time, less remakes. So it really is beneficial. Again, there really are no cons. Again, unless again you're still on dial-up internet, which I can't really help you there.
Yeah, and I love that connects to our very first training. I mean, we did lens thickness first for a reason, because it's probably, in my opinion, the biggest misconception in our industry, and the biggest issue, least talked about issues, especially with new opticians, and we have a lot of them nowadays. And if you want to go back and watch the first training on lens thickness to get the technical information, and then come back and watch this to understand in that first training how you get the results that we spoke about. This is a great tool. Online ordering really is the only way to get your absolute best results with lens thickness too. If we're talking in regards to uncuts, because you can send across a trace file, an actual trace file of your frame, and send it to your lab so they have the exact shape. Or if you don't have a tracer, you, like we saw there on that last screen, is you can pick a shape that gets really close, and then you can get your thickness down, or as close to your shape as we possibly can. So this absolutely best way, the only way to do it if you are doing uncuts or don't have a frame to send us. So that is really important.
Yeah, and I think you said it the best, Mark. This is not only good and easy and efficient for you guys, but it's ultimately helping your patients and your customers. So they're getting it back faster. They're getting the most accurate prescription that they possibly can, and the thickness is going to be appropriate if we're picking appropriate frame PDs and things like that, and we're adding all this into electronic ordering. It's just, that's what we want to do as opticians, is we want to help our patients. And I think at the end of the day, utilizing the tools that we can, especially ones that are free like VisionWeb to use, is only going to help us be even better at what we're doing. And we're looking at this practice management integration slide. I showed you, kind of walked through how you can order on visionweb.com, but really, and you guys kind of said it a little bit, is the best way to do it is to integrate with your practice management system. So VisionWeb's integrated with over 25 practice management systems. If it's something that, if you don't have one that's on here, let us know, and maybe it's something that we can look into. We're willing to work with anybody that's willing to work with us. We're neutral, we're open. We want to make it, our job and our mission really is to try to make the lives of VCPs easier. So anything we can do to try to get more integrations, the more convenient and better it's going to be for you guys, and the better it's going to be ultimately to our patients.
Yeah, and it's been a while since I've dispensed full time, but I was just thinking back in my head, just on one issue, just how many times I had to call a patient and say, I'm sorry, but this progressive doesn't come in poly transitions brown. Yeah, like that one issue, uh, I will still wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh no, I gotta call a patient, and as an optician, I don't know, that's probably one of the worst things is when you spent like an hour or two with a patient, belaboring every point of the sale, and you think you finally got it finished, and then you've got to call them back and say, I was wrong, I can't get that lens that way. Or some kind of issue like that, and it takes that away. It saves time, it takes away little errors. It gets your order going much quicker, it gets it coming back much quicker. If you're putting in that trace data, you're going to get a much better product at the end of the day. And to top it all off, this is completely free. So if and especially if you have an EHR and you've not considered this, if your office hasn't considered it, maybe you just didn't know it was like totally free. Go back to your office personnel in your next meeting or whatever and say, hey, I watched this video, I attended this thing, and this is free. I'd like to give it a try. Like, Nolan, if I try it, am I stuck with it for life, or can I just go back to wrapping paper and rubber bands around things and sending them in the mail?
Yeah, you can definitely go back to do that. I would never suggest doing that. Of
Yeah.
course, but if that's what you're used to, then it is. But as we were kind of talking today, you're not stuck with us, right?
Yeah.
We're not here to stronghold you. It's just another tool that you can use in your tool belt to, better serve your patients.
Yeah, I mean, I still do have a fountain pen and a wax stamp, and I do occasionally send letters like that, but just for fun. Like, I'm not going to do that for every single patient. I doubt your insurance office is sending out, bills that way, but maybe they are. I don't know. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, especially Nolan, for coming on and telling us all about VisionWeb. Alex, was there anything else you wanted to chime in with before we sign off today?
Yeah, and I definitely, just like you said, the next meeting you have with your staff, the next time you're talking to the person that's ordering, I mean, explain to them what we talked about today. If you're having ordering issues, this is going to help you a ton. The only thing, to keep in mind as the industry keeps progressing to online ordering, don't let that be a barrier between you and your lab. Possibly the only downside. We, on the other side, we get the people that we never hear from and only send things online. Just because you're communicating with us digitally, remotely, doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. So if you have a question on order, if you have a high RX, if you're wondering, about if it's going to be good thickness, definitely get your order ready in VisionWeb, and then give us a call and say, hey, POG, is this a good decision? Is this a good lens for my patient? And we will help you out. Definitely don't guess, even though it's a great bridge, VisionWeb, us to you, there still is those things that we need to discuss and get technical about. So that is the only thing to keep in mind. Still do please call us if there are questions.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that too. We also have an amazing customer support and operations team who are all experts in what they do. So while if you're setting up a VisionWeb account, we have an 800 number that was just up on the screen that you guys can call. Our team can help you kind of walk through any questions you have while setting up an account or anything like that if you need to. Hopefully you don't, but that is available as well.
Awesome. And your lab always can be a great source for connecting you with the right people, helping you get answers to difficult questions so that you're not just lost. Certainly, if you have a question, reach out to your lab rep to find out information. They usually have an in-house guru to help you with lens stuff. I've leaned upon those quite often in my career. And with that, we thank you all for joining us. We'll make these available like all the rest online.